Hello and welcome to the dungeon. Dayman here. Today we're going over a video that I've really wanted to make for a long time. The unofficial classes in Dungeons of Eternity. We have an exosuit that allows us to really change the way your character feels, and we have lots of different weapon perks that can be interchanged to make you feel, fulfill different power fantasies. So I wanted to go over today a few of these builds that I have found and that I really enjoy. I've kind of burnt myself out on exo missions, so in order to really bring this video to life. So it took us a long time, so please like and subscribe. First time I've said that in my videos, I think. So here, let's look at this exosuit. This is very likely what your exosuit looks like. You got vitality, you have stillness, both of which granting you passive HP. You have haste, so you never have to worry about lagging in dungeons. And you have some kind of arms perk for your weapons. I like to call this the Paladin, right? You can heal, you're quick, and you're powerful. But there's a lot more your exos can do for you. And though it feels bad to let go of a legs perk, there's lots of things we can do. Here's something I like to look at as somewhat of a roguish, right? I'm only here for the money, right? And because I'm using a jump height perk and a thrown weapons perk, right? I want to increase my throw distance, and my chest perk allows me to reduce damage. The reason I use this, so let's say I use my daggers, and again, you want to be pairing these with cool loadouts, right? Poison and ice. Stop my enemies in their tracks. Now, why is it that you would use daggers with jump height and throw distance? So I'm in a fray, I'm guarding the best I can, and I don't want to really worry about these enemies, right? As I can maybe get a few of them frozen. I'm going to jump over my enemies and target out an enemy further away. So, as opposed to getting stuck into auto-targeting the enemies directly in front of you, right? Now, that might not seem like the most powerful build. Maybe you want to do something where you are using a crossbow. You want to play like a gunner type. Shout out to Silvertongue Devil, who kind of brought up this unofficial class idea in one of his videos. So I like a multi-shot with poison here. So here, I want to use like a gunner type build. Load into my exos. And really think about this. Your arms perk is going to be really what you build each of these rest of your perks around, right? So I'm going to find my crossbow damage. All right, I'm here to take them out. And you can do, like, maybe you can go like a critical crossbows build. If you have multi-shot criticals, I'm jealous. So increase the damage your crossbow is capable of doing. You can be quick and agile. Again, there's nothing wrong with using haste. You can even use jump distance so you can kind of get into more dynamic angles. And maybe you want to, again, because you're not using stillness, have some form of passive regen. Nothing wrong with it. Now, with that idea of being able to jump and strafe from side to side, throwing on haste to kind of demonstrate that. So here, now we have this idea of this gunner type who's strafing the battlefield and taking ground. Now, I'm going to show you a cool thing I like to do to increase the amount of your DPS, right? You want to go a full DPS build? Go in Strife. And then grab a weapon, throw it, and then reload. Boom, 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 boom. Grab a weapon, throw it, and then. So now, every time you're going to reload your weapon, you have another thing to go to fly forward. And if you're using those ice daggers and things like that, you might even freeze them in place. So combining those, combining the abilities of your weapons with your exos is very, very powerful. So really consider how those things are working together. Let's say you want to play like a mage build, right? So again, your arms perk. If you're playing a mage, you're going to want to be able to use the crystals. There's lots of different types of mages you can build. I'm going to talk about the white mage here, the kind of healer that you might not really consider as that viable of a build, but let's talk about it. So here we have a shield, a healing staff, and I'm going to go into my exos. And again, look at this. I have potions. So now what I can do is I can hold my ground, heal, be able to bash, right? And again, you might want to have an explosions hammer, right? Something that allows you to create space very quickly. Very D&D cleric, right? Area damage and undead. So now I'm playing this somewhat cleric build. I can boom, create space, then go into healing. And because I have multiple potions at my disposal due to my exos, I'll always be able to, I don't have to worry about resource management as much, and I can just be throwing those potions and keeping my allies up. So ways of looking at something that you probably never even thought about using a healing staff, but with the right exos, suddenly it becomes a much more viable build. And again, you can do things where you, again, maybe you don't want to let go of your legs perk with haste, but haste really is not the fastest option in the game. One thing I love about the mage build is putting on blink or teleport. So suddenly you're this super evasive healing mage, able to stay out of danger, quickly get to your allies, throw down potions that are needed without, getting hit. So you can create quick space, shooting around the dungeon with teleport. And I just think it's so cool to be a teleporting mage, right? So we have gunners, we have, we have rogues, we have paladins. So looking further at our exos, coming back to our more standard build, your arms perk. Maybe you want to be the berserker, right? You don't want to take damage or anything like that. I'm gonna get my knockback distance. I'm gonna make it so I take less damage, get my stillness on, throw on Juggernaut, and then I'm going to get my loadout so I have a powerful shield at my disposal. Once again, that knockback distance is going to be great. Maybe you get knockback distance on multiple weapons, explosions, and all that. Typically, you're not going to want to be using a greatsword with a shield, despite the fact you get that knockback. So another way of looking at these builds are putting on a spear. All right, so you can create space, you knock them back, and then follow up with a powerful strike, and then you can. Maybe you want to be more like a support tank, where your job is to keep people safe around you. So you turn on this, and now you can suddenly, I talk about this a lot in my videos, where you can create space and boom, boom, knocking people back with these powerful area damage attacks. And then after you knock them back or create an explosion, follow them up or keep them down, right? So combining your builds, so you're not just locked into two weapon types, really making the most of the entirety of your kit. And I talked about before, that jump distance can really be cool to kind of jump over enemies. Now, one thing I also love about the jump perk is playing a sniper. So with sniper, you want to reduce damage, but you can also, because you're going to be standing still more often, you go ahead and put that on. Let's see. Because you can have vitality, you can get more creative. So now, because you're a sniper, really range is your only threat. So you reduce the chances of getting hit. And then as a sniper, I would recommend maybe a critical hit. So if maybe you have a critical hit bow, or of course, what does a sniper do? They're known for the range of their weapons. So you pair that exo with a bow with shot distance and criticals. Now I can jump. Let's see those areas. Now I'm jumping onto higher platforms that my allies might not be able to reach. And again, you can turn on that blink. So now you're just as fast as anyone else. you're actually getting out of the fray much quicker. Now, the issue I do find with any kind of blink with those jump perks is that they do not work as well. So now I can get up, take my shots, and again, you can change your own elevation in a dungeon to literally get, like, if you're standing up, just squatting down, or if you're sitting down. So you can get these really cool, you know, this really cool ability to be this sniper type. So don't just look at your exos. Look at your weapons and try and pair those with what you have. There's lots and lots of cool mage builds that you can use. Force staffs, maybe a force staff with a juggernaut. Now you can create that distance for yourself, and then just be blasting enemies away, and just be this massive AOE mage, right? All this really cool stuff that comes with the combination of exos and weapons, right? So you get that force staff, juggernaut, go into like maybe knockback distance. All this is like very creative. Now, maybe you want to do more of a role play style build. If you want to go with role playing, maybe you want to play like a dwarf, right? So you want to take less damage from poisons or environmental things, right? I don't think I have the perk for it, right? So you can do things where you take less. Maybe I do have it. Yeah, okay, no, I don't. Decreasing damage taken by poison type attacks and making it so they don't slow you down as much. Being very stalwart dwarf, right? And if you are playing a dwarf build, something I think that might be kind of creative is to actually like change your height in the dungeon, right? For those role-playing builds. Not everyone goes into role-playing, but if you do, that would be very cool. If you play Dungeons & Dragons, you know that dwarves are more resistant to poison, is why they bring that up. And changing your height. Let's see. There's a few more I wanted to talk about. Right, maybe you want to play a Mage Slayer, right? You're this character with this awesome, powerful greatsword that does a huge damage to sorcerers. Maybe I got rid of it. I did have an unblockable sorcerer damage. There it is. Knockback sorcerer, right? I thought this was cool. Knockback and sorcerer damage. This idea of enforcing space because you want to keep those mages back and maybe even like knock them down and do crazy damage to sorcerers, and then use an exo with sorcerer damage where you take less damage from magic type attacks. So again, some of these might be more role-playing focused. But you can work with your team and kind of flesh out a party system. So once again, just going over very briefly the main notes about exo points here. You can go like, stab, you can go gunner, you can go critical hits, you can go shot distance, you can go knockback. Whatever your arms ability is going to kind of dictate the rest of your build, right? I still really enjoy critical hit type attacks. So with critical hits, it's all just kind of staying alive long enough to get those massive blows going. So in that case, you might see something more traditional in your loadouts. And don't worry about losing haste, because one of the fastest things you can do in the game is blink or teleport. And so you don't have to worry about that. Now, one note on using blink or teleport. I recommend, if you are going to be more of a melee build, getting up and close and personal, taking strategic angles is very important. In which case, haste might actually work very well for you. Like if I'm working greatsword, being able to go like haste, maybe even jump speed, so that I can kind of move up and around and, follow up with those big swings. So maybe you knock someone up and you follow them with that jump speed attack. So ways you can utilize these perks in ways you haven't thought about before. Maybe you want to follow them up. You do this big knock attack, boom, and you follow them into the air, boom. But I think jump speed is a little bit better for that because they tend to fly forward. So don't worry about losing your haste. There's lots of things you can do, but if you're playing a more ranged build, sorcerers or archers, you think about practice blink and teleport in a dungeon and see what that feels like for you. But remember, if you're using blink and teleport, the legs perk will probably be a little less pertinent for you. So I would recommend something along the lines of your juggernaut perks, right? So one thing I haven't unlocked and are the things like your last stand perk. So I do have it, I just haven't got it all the way. If you're doing solos, I haven't found a lot of niche for the fall damage perk, but maybe you find something cool for it, let me know. Last Stand is a solo dungeon thing, which if you're taking my advice from my earlier video, and try a solo dungeon in order to improve your skills at this game, what you might find is that last stand, it can kind of be a way of challenging yourself in a dungeon. So give you enough time to get to a potion, give you enough time to find an enemy to kill, because that's what it is. Last stand is your second life in a solo dungeon. You get revived by using potions or by killing enemies. So if you're going to go with that more solo, that roguish type, I don't need anybody, maybe you go for that last stand increase, and then you go for more ranged attacks to stay up in the dungeon, right? You're a dagger throwing, mastermind, and you get your throw distance daggers, and get your poison and your vampire daggers, right? And now you're this kind of roguish type running around a dungeon, trying to get all the gold you can get, right? So think about these builds, and let me know if you have any cool ideas of how you've linked together exos with weapons perks, and get creative with it. I'm going to be running multiple dungeons with these builds, so stay tuned. To the channel, as there's going to be a lot more content coming your way. If you're interested in doing some maybe roleplay style games with me, comment down below. Say what kind of class or build that you want to do, and maybe you can join me in the dungeons while we do these perks. As you see, your boy's right around the corner from that secondary prestige. But before I prestige, I really wanted to give every weapon and every play style an honest try before I just go and just commit to the thing I'm most comfortable with. Right? So I look forward to seeing you guys in the dungeon. Until then, remember to disinfect your face mask and wash your face. Peace.